In this video, I'm going back to the basics, to the very foundations, and we're going to be looking at something that is essential for someone who has led worship one time or 1,000 times. And today, that topic is, what is worship? We're going to talk about that today, coming up. Hey there, my name is Glorio, and this is your worship mentor. And on this channel, my goal is to help you grow into a stronger worship leader right where you are. If this is your first time watching, welcome, and consider subscribing if this provides any value for you. So today I want to answer the question, what is worship? And this is something that is foundational. It's very obviously foundational for us as worship leaders, but as for people, Christians, members of the church, to answer this question, what is worship? And I want to dive into what worship is, and I also want to talk a little bit about what worship is not. So let's dive into it. First of all, worship is a response to God. Now, many times throughout the Bible, you see people interacting with God or having a word from God or having an experience with God, whether that's through an angel, through Jesus. They're having this experience and they're being made aware of God and who He is, and their response is to fall down and worship. So worship is often a response to us experiencing God in our lives. When Jesus meets the Samaritan woman at the well, they have a conversation and she becomes more and more aware of who Jesus really is throughout this conversation. And she asks him, where are we supposed to worship? And essentially Jesus tells her, there's coming a time where true worshipers will arise and they'll worship the Father in spirit and in truth. Now, why do I bring this up? This is the verse that many people cite when they talk about worship and what does true worship mean? What does true worship look like? So I want to break down a little bit that idea of worshiping in spirit and in truth just a little bit, because I do want to keep this a very essential and basic video answering the question, what is worship? To worship in spirit means two things. It means that through the power of the Holy Spirit and in connection with God through the Holy Spirit, we are worshiping with our spirits. And that means worshiping with our hearts and worshiping authentically as who we are. Now, to worship in truth also means two things. It means that we are worshiping God in the truth of who He is, which was revealed in Jesus. So Jesus is the exact representation of God. And in Jesus, we see what the Father is like in a very real way. So when we have the truth of who God is, we worship Him out of the truth of who we are. And again, that looks like authenticity, and that looks like bringing our whole selves when we worship God. So that's my little tiny breakdown of the idea of worshiping in spirit and in truth. I can do a whole other video about that. If you'd love to hear it, let me know in the comments below. When we see God as He truly is through Jesus and through the Holy Spirit and His work in our lives, our worship is a response to Him and a response to all the goodness and loving kindness that He shows us in our lives. Now, secondly, worship is connection. One of the biggest reasons that Christians worship is in order to connect with God. It's a way to focus our attention on God rather than on our circumstances or our surroundings or anything else. In any relationship in your life, connection is important. So it makes sense that if we have a relationship with God, that we're regularly spending time connecting with Him in worship. Now, before I get into what worship is not, I want to invite you to like this video if it's provided you any value at all. And secondly, I want you to tell me, what is worship to you? What have you experienced worship to be if I haven't covered it in what the worship is section of this video? Let me know in the comments below. So let's get into what worship is not. Pause. Hey there. So I was making this video as a what is worship, an introduction for someone who may not know what worship is, has no grid for it. And it's getting to be a little bit long. So to keep this short, I'm going to make a part 2. What is worship not? Maybe what worship isn't. That's what the part 2 of the video is going to be. So keep an eye out for that. It'll be here next week. In the meantime, check out some of my other videos. And thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.